can you guys explain speciesism to us?
Well, speciesism has two components. The first is that human animals believe that we are superior to non-human animals, and therefore we're entitled to use them however we choose. The second component of speciesism is that we favour certain species of non-human animals over other non-human animal species. So, for example, we favour cats, dogs, whales, dolphins, typically over cows, chickens, pigs, turkeys, fish and ducks. Those animals that we consider food animals, for argument's sake. So that's kind of speciesism. It is a form of discrimination, very similar to racism and sexism and ableism and classism.
It is silly that we would just discriminate on such an arbitrary factor, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like anybody gets to choose how they're born.
That's the thing, you know, where do we draw this line? We draw the line based on what we're taught as children, depending on which part of the world we're raised in.
Yeah.
You know, so we know that a lot of countries in Asia are taught that it's okay to eat dogs. Like the Yulin Dog Festival is very popular, and so there's a part of that culture that says these animals are okay to eat. But in the West, if we said to a child it's okay to eat dogs, that would be, you know, it does not happen. That would be an incredibly terrible thing that we think to do. But it just depends where you are in the world, and that's where we draw the line based on what we're taught. So,
and you know, there are so many activists in China who are fighting against the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, who are saying this isn't appropriate. It doesn't matter that they were born different than us.
Yeah.
The point is they feel pain and they want to live, and so they deserve respect just like everyone does. They've done nothing wrong to us.
And that's just fantastic that activists are speaking up, even if it does go against their culture, just like what we're doing here. You know, we're doing that here in the West, saying, as Luca said, the cows and the sheep and fish and pigs and turkeys and ducks and chickens, we've been taught that they're okay to eat, and that goes against our culture, our tradition, to be activists here and say, no, hold on, that's not okay. Sure, we've been taught that that's okay, but that doesn't mean that it's okay. Same thing in China and all those other countries where they've been taught that eating dog is acceptable. It's not acceptable.
And it's the industries, Chase, that have taught us that certain species of animals are there to be used for food and others for clothing and others for entertainment. And these are standard industry practices that we're showing here on the screens. And this happens all around the world because they produce animals in the cheapest way possible, because it's all about the bottom line at the end of the day for these corporations. And these corporations, when they advertise to us, and they spend billions of dollars on advertising to us because advertising works. I mean, we were born in the 1980s and we can remember the Big Mac jingle even to this day, just because of how successful marketing and advertising is. And so when people just say to vegans, oh, don't shove your opinions down our throats, what we like to remind people is that advertisements are the paid opinions of corporations. So we're here to show you what the industries will not show you. They show you happy animals in the fields, in green pastures, when in actual fact their lives are lived in misery, and they do nothing but suffer their entire short lives until we slit their throats and kill them needlessly, because there's not a single nutrient that we can't derive from the plant kingdom. There's just absolutely no need for us to be eating animals. So we're here showing the public the truth through this beautiful art piece of Anonymous for the Voiceless, and we're so proud to be here just to help raise awareness for our animal cousins.
Yes, and you know, we have 6 cubes with over 500 activists here today.
Yeah.
And so we're incredibly proud of that.
It's so powerful.
And the audience, when they see this many people standing up, they start to realize, you know, that the times are changing.
Yes, they
People
certainly are.
care about animals. You know, people care about animal rights. People care about animal liberation, and we're prepared to do something about it. We're prepared to gather here. We're prepared to, you know, march on the streets. We're prepared to outreach. We're prepared to stand in the cold, do whatever it takes to spread the truth. So
no one's getting paid here.
Yeah.
No one's asking for any money. It's the industry that's asking for your money when they want you to buy these products of misery and suffering and torture.
the only thing we're selling is the truth, and we're not even selling it. We're just giving it away.
We just set it free, and the truth defends itself.
That's it.
And you know, sociological research shows that the strongest predictor of human behavior is the social norms that dominate our culture. So the reason that people eat animals is because most people eat animals.
100% Chase, and we saw that play out yesterday. We actually disrupted Berkeley, where groups of activists formed small groups that went into restaurants and basically chanted, you know, it's not food, it's violence. And what happened was, there was one gentleman in the restaurant that we went into, and he followed us out after we went in there and disrupted. And we stood on the street and we continued our disruption, and these tell you what, there was like 10 activists in a row, and he was pretty much the only non-vegan there. And you know what? He started to mimic our chants because he was falling in sync with what the majority of people in his immediate vicinity were doing. So that's human psychology 101 that you just spoke about.
So what ended up happening was he was actually saying, you know, it's not food, it's violence, silently, but I could see his lips moving. I was filming him on Instagram stories, and I just instinctively went over and said, do you want to join us? And he said, oh, no, but I'm really interested, I'm kind of transitioning. So 1 minute he was in the restaurant eating animals, listening to our destruction, and the next minute he's on the street with us saying it's not food, it's violence, even though he wasn't even vegan yet. But as you said, he is falling in line with what the majority of people around him were saying and doing. We were sending the message that it is violence, and he agreed with it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's how we change it.
And you obviously have hope for all of these people, right? Because most of these people are good people who are against animal cruelty. It's just we all got tricked into thinking that slaughter is somehow not animal cruelty.
Exactly,
We ate
Chase.
it.
We ate it for 30 years of our lives almost, or 29, almost 3 decades. You know, we were duped just like the general population has been duped by these industries, and again through the advertising that we spoke about. But as you said, it's very easy, Chase. All we're doing is reconnecting people with the emotions and values that they already have inside them. For example, everybody is against animal abuse. People want peace, they want justice, they want respect, they value love, they value all of those things. So we're just letting them know that they can align their actions with their pre-existing ethics and values by choosing a vegan lifestyle.
And that's the only thing that actually differentiates us vegans here in this cube and the people that we're outreaching, the non-vegans, is that we've aligned our actions with our ethics, and they haven't yet done that, mainly because they don't know the truth. I just outreached a woman, she had no idea. She knew, sure, animals had to die for meat, but she didn't know about dairy and she didn't know about eggs. And she was shocked. The look on her face was like, oh my God, I never knew. So now you know, so now you can choose better.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we know that an animal has to die for the meat, but if we don't see it, a lot of times it remains abstract in our minds, and we don't see the animal kicking and screaming and fighting to stay alive.
That's right, out of sight, out of mind, as the saying goes. And we are simply bringing to light what the industry has kept hidden in the dark for all too long. So the footage here on these screens is extremely powerful, and we're setting it free, as we said before, just so that the public can be aware of the lies that the industry is selling us. That they're literally shoving down our throats. You look at the billboards for the advertising by Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, Domino's, Subway, the list goes on, and you will see, you know, they're literally shoving this food down our throats. They're the opinions, remember, the paid opinions of industry. So just be aware of that. Be aware that we are being duped, and don't allow yourself to, because we're all smarter than that. And we need to show the industries that by voting with our dollars, and we're going to choose plant foods every time. That's how we change the world. That's how we free the animals from this misery that we wouldn't wish on our worst enemies. Certainly not our cats and dogs who we consider members of our family that we love and adore. And remember, going vegan is not the most we can do.